Welcome to Scaling Without Breaking podcast, the show for startup leaders who are done winging it and sick of everything being a bottleneck. Your team's growing, the cracks are showing, and what got you here is officially breaking. Each week, you'll hear raw stories, sharp strategies, and real talk from founders, operators, and advisors who've scaled through chaos and built companies that run without constant firefighting. If you're ready to start leading like a CEO and move beyond just surviving, you're in the right place. Here is your host, Roland Siebelink.
Welcome everyone. This week I am speaking with someone who scaled a payments company to 8,000 active merchants and 2 billion euros in annual transaction volume with fewer than 70 people on the team. Starting as college students trying to build a financing aggregator, they faced regulatory nightmares, pivoted to payments when PSD2 opened up bank APIs, and disrupted the market with 5-cent pricing in a 2.5% world. They went from 70 merchants to 120 signups in the first month after their pivot. Today, they process payments for roughly 50% of Estonian e-commerce and are expanding across the Baltics and into Poland, learning hard lessons about cross-cultural trust along the way. With that, everybody meet my guest, Karel Napus. Welcome to the show, Karel.
Hi, Roland. It's great to be here.
Excellent. It's been an honor. I met you in Tallinn I believe it was in September, right? And it's been a while until you found the time to finally come on the podcast, but I've been looking forward to it ever since, Karel. You have been very busy.
You got to keep busy. You know how it is. We're Estonians, it's in our blood.
It's in your blood. That's excellent. Well, let's get right into it, Karel. So how do you scale to 1,000 active merchants when your team is still below 70?
Sure. So counterintuitive answer to this is just do cold calls. but no, seriously. So like you said, we started out with a financing aggregator, right? So we were already in the space of e-commerce, and it took us about a year just to sort out the regulatory side and get the product live. And then I think it took a year to get to, like the first 100 customers. Mm-hmm. And it was really difficult for us to get that ball rolling. But throughout this whole year, we're still talking to all these merchants and learning more and more about what pains do they have in e-commerce in general. And payments keep coming up all the time. And it was just around the time, as you mentioned as well, that PSD2 came into effect. Mm-hmm. So we had a very unique opportunity to just say, you know what, we're gonna add payments to the stack. That way we can help them with financing, we can help them with payments, and we'll go from there. And we wanted to enter the market in a way that would obviously boost growth and help us scale. And because we basically didn't have any cost to processing the payments, thanks to PSD2, mm-hmm. we figured it's not important for us to be charging 1-2% for this.
Right.
And in general, payments, it's a commodity, right? Maybe
mm-hmm.
30 years ago, it was an innovative thing to be able to move money online from one point to another. Nowadays, it's a hygiene factor. So that was also something that we discussed, and we had like a philosophical pull towards this idea as well, that payments are a commodity. So why price them as something that will really affect merchant bottom lines? So we priced it at 5 cents per transaction, and these were bank links, just to be clear to everyone. Bank links, not card payments. Mm-hmm. And what this means is it's a very popular way of paying in Northeastern Europe. You log in through your bank account, you confirm the transaction, and it's done.
So it's a pay-by-bank solution, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, we just were very, very low on resources, so we were just using like very scrappy methods of getting the word out. We posted mm-hmm. in all sorts of like e-commerce communities in Estonia and Facebook groups and mm-hmm. whatever. And like I said, in our first year of actually being out on the market, selling our financing solution, we got around 100 merchants. Mm-hmm. And the first month that we were actually open to merchants joining our payments, that was, I think it was like 100 merchants that joined us. And then the next month it was almost 200, then it was 240, then it was 300, and it kept growing like that for quite a long time. We were just following what we saw merchants or customers were indicating as the biggest pain points. They had issues with payments. Obviously, they had issues with the price points at which their payments were currently priced. And it was just a very obvious opportunity for us to follow. And that's the sort of logic that we've been trying to follow ever since. Look at what the ICP struggles with, try to solve it, bring it to market, see if that opens up a wider opportunity, rinse and repeat.
Can I double click a little bit on the part where you said, like, we just listen to customers very carefully, we listen what their problems are, but they rinse and repeat. That's a lot easier when it's just the three of you, right? You and Marcus and Rasmus, I believe, right? Than it is when you are 70, right? So whose job is that now, to listen to customers and come up with these product requirements, make the decision?
In the beginning, it was really difficult because it was a round table where everyone is involved and you have 6 people in the room and everyone is bouncing ideas on what should we do and what should we not do. And I say it's difficult. We made it work, but it was very time consuming because you would go back and forth on all these decisions, and ownership was a lot more diffused. Nowadays, I guess we've learned, we've hired people that are smarter than us to make these decisions. So we have very clear area leads who each owns their own domain. So we have our chief product officer, Mike, who deals with these decisions now. And of course, we have discussions. We have discussions between sales, marketing, all the commercial functions, and we feed it in and off of each other. But ultimately now there is a very strong owner for each area, and that's what helps the wagon move forward.
And so when you have those responsibilities divided up properly, then the next problem that often happens is the silo formation, where people start not talking to each other anymore. Has that something that you guys have been experiencing as well?
Yeah, spot on. It's an organic problem that just kind of happens over time. In the beginning, everyone is involved in everything. Then all of a sudden, no one is involved in anything except what they're doing. And then it becomes a question of how do you even know what you're supposed to do if you don't talk to anyone else? But we fix that problem by just making sure that people that are owning their areas, that everyone from each function gets in the same room every now and then, every week. And then we talk about the top line goals and what's most important, and seeing how we're executing to plan and how everything is tracking along.
Okay. How important is it to have communication channels like a town hall or something that goes company wide? What do you guys do to keep everyone abreast on the overall vision for the company as opposed to just for their team or department?
So that's something we, from the get-go, we've been really strict with this. We think that these all-hand meetings are really important, and I'm sure a lot of companies say this, but we really put emphasis on transparency. So if we feel like there's questions around, I don't know, numbers, commercial performance, whatever, we air it all out. We talk it through. We make sure that everyone is aligned, or as aligned as you can get when you have 60 people sitting in a big room listening to one person talk.
Yes.
So I think there's a really big value in these town halls. You have to be very clear with communicating to everyone what the goalposts are, how you're performing, giving people the sense of safety and security that they're doing well, but also that the company is doing well, their team is doing well. And then you'll need smaller meetings or smaller update groups where function leads can sync up with one another and make sure that they stay up to date with what's going on.
When do you find your town hall meeting has gone really well? What's an example of when you say that is a really good town hall meeting versus, oh, that was bad? What are the factors that decide whether a town hall lands or not?
So I think in the beginning we were more so winging it. So we were just thinking of what's happened since the last time and sharing updates. Nowadays it's very structured. So we have a rotation of teams that give updates, and then depending on the week, there will be an update from leadership by our CEO or, I don't know, our head of finance does a quick presentation on performance and how we're tracking against goals. And that sort of gives everyone a really good sense of what's going on.
Karel, do you guys work with something like overall objectives and key results, or a similar system where everyone sees the same goals for the company every 2 weeks in that case?
Yeah, so we work with OKRs. It's been a roller coaster. We've tried to be very strict with them. We've tried to be very loose with them. But more than anything, for us, it's like an alignment tool. It's an alignment and planning tool. We make sure that all the teams have their OKRs set up for each quarter, and they update them once a month. So obviously that's not enough to give everyone in your like lateral teams a good operational sense of like what's behind what's tracking. But it gives everyone across the company like a bird's eye view of like, this is where we're at. And more than that, it's like I said, it's meant for planning and alignment during the beginning of the quarter when we're still getting set up.
Karel, maybe we can move a little bit to your growth. So 7 years in business total, right? You said, I think meaningful growth started 4 or 5 years ago, post-pivot. 8,000 active merchants currently, huge market share in Estonia, growing Latvia, Lithuania, and then growing further into Poland, right? Does that mean your customer base is primarily small merchants?
Yeah, so I was going to get to that we primarily focus on SMBs.
Yeah.
So we don't have this big enterprise sales motion at all.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that has introduced a whole set of commercial challenges from the get-go. First of all, like I opened up earlier and I said that, you know, the key to everything is cold calling. And I was only half joking about that, because if you're trying to get to these merchants where you're trying to talk to customers where the decision maker is more likely than not just a phone call away, you don't have a big committee, there aren't the hurdles of an enterprise sales process, you want to get to that person as quickly as possible, explain to them, you know, what you can do for them, what other entrepreneurs like them or what other managers like them have been seeing in their stores, what have been the issues they've been having, and how we took care of that. And it's so much easier and so much quicker and so much more efficient to do that via phone. And around this time when we were going to market, it became very popular to, you know, start automating email sequences, and nowadays there's even like AI email outreach sequences. And whether jokingly or not, what I've started hearing more and more is like, now the growth hack is you actually start doing cold calls. But that's what we've always been doing, and it just really works. And we've tried doing cold outreach email campaigns and all of this stuff, and it just doesn't work as well. But making sure you find the right person, you give them a call, you explain what you're talking about and what you have for them. If they're interested, great, you move on. If they're not interested, you don't keep pestering them. You don't get stuck in that. Sales had to focus on cold calling, and marketing with its restrictions. We didn't use marketing to serve up leads to sales. The sales were supposed to get their own leads. They were supposed to go after their own business. And the only time when they were getting anything from marketing was if marketing was unsuccessful at converting their own pipeline. So marketing was supposed to build out their own funnel and make sure that people convert. And
without involvement from sales. Yeah, so it's almost like competing with each other.
It wasn't really competing. If anything, it was a really good, like a complementary framework, because the leads that wouldn't go and convert through the funnel themselves would be called up by sales.
Different.
No, exactly. Marketing was fully responsible for, you know, mapping out its own touch points, making sure that their customers convert, and I think that was also a really big part of what helped us grow quickly, because this whole model of marketing is just there to generate, you know, food for the sales team. That makes sense if you are going after enterprise, if you are going after these really, really big accounts, and it's difficult to land them on a phone call. But if you're an SMB, that's what you have to do. Every commercial line needs to focus on its own paybacks, needs to focus on its own efficiency, and making sure that the company as a whole is growing.
And having expanded into 2 markets successfully, and now working on a third, maybe fourth, What are your learnings that you would convey to others about entering a market that you're not from, that you're foreign to? How do you overcome all those barriers?
I think the number one most important thing is to have the right people in place.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're just launching a completely new market, you have to have the right people in place, and you have to be, and this is why it's difficult, you have to be quick to, you have to trust them to do their job, but you also have to be quick to get involved and replace them if it doesn't work out.
That's a tough balance to strike.
It's a very tough balance to strike, and I think in some cases we've done well, and in some cases we've really not done well on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trusting, not trust is the wrong word, but I guess whenever someone has a big commercial challenge to like take on a new market, you need to have the right type of person there to tackle these issues. And the right type of person will just, you know, they will just grind through it. They will tell you
Mm-hmm.
what they need, and if you give them what they say they need, you see more results. And then they will tell
Right.
you, I need more of this. You give them
Yeah.
more of it, and then you see more results.
Mm-hmm.
It gets
So
tricky
input
when someone
output
says,
related in a sense, right?
yeah, it gets tricky when when they say that they need something, you give it to them, and then there's barely an uplift, or there's an uplift but it's not what you expected. And
Mm.
then how do you assess that? And it becomes tricky because maybe there is extra nuance to it that you couldn't deliver on, or that you couldn't take into
Mm-hmm.
consideration before. But you have to be really demanding of what you expect out of these people, and you have to be really honest with them as well as yourself, like, is this working for us? And it gets even more complicated when maybe it was working up to a certain point,
Mm.
and then that person, maybe there was someone that was really good at getting to the first, I don't know, 1,000 users,
Right.
and then getting from there to that next level is difficult for them. And it's a really nasty place to be in, because you have someone that's done a good job but isn't fit for the role anymore. So you have to either figure out, okay, what can we do with this person internally, what other challenges could we give them, so we could get someone else in their seat to take it from there.
Yeah, because very often with fast-growing startups, the person who brings it from 0 to 10 is a very different person from the person who brings it from 10 to 100 and so forth. Carol, I always also want to hear about the person behind the company, the person behind the startup, of course, right? So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid, as a teenager?
Yeah, sure. I was born and raised in a really small town on the west coast of Estonia. I
What's
think
its
it's
name, if I may ask?
yeah, it's called Haapsalu. It has a population of like, well, it used to have a population of like 13,000 people, but I think now it's less.
Yes.
It's a lovely place. I mean, it's by the seaside. It has a castle. It's from the old ages, from the medieval times.
Nice.
And I was born with a super rare genetic mutation, so I was always moving around, either using some kind of orthopedic assistance
Mm-hmm.
or a wheelchair. And so I was spending a lot of time just playing video games as a kid, and I
Okay.
didn't really go out much, and I got really overweight. And I think by the time I just got older, I think I was something like 13, 14,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that, okay, well, there's actually much cooler things that are happening outside of video games in real life. And I'm just so, I can't move. I,
Yeah.
I'm 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 too big. It's too difficult for me to move. And so I started to relentlessly check my nutrition, work
Mm-hmm.
out. I lost something like 35 kilos in like 1.5 years. I
Wow.
started learning to play the guitar. I focused more on like friends and socializing, and
Yeah.
and I think that sort of experience kind of gave me a really good baseline for like a baseline level of resilience, and the confidence and the knowledge that you can drive change. like really big change for yourself, for your own personal goals. But and yeah, in high school, I met my co-founder Marcus, and
Okay.
it was actually really funny because we used to hate each other's guts. It was we couldn't stand each other. Don't know. I've always felt like he had a stick up somewhere, and that he thought that I was a bit of a douchebag, or a bit of a jerk, which is a funny dynamic. But we were in literature class. I think it was, it was probably in the first few months of high school. We were in literature class, and we were discussing political philosophy. I think it was, can't even remember the exact topic at the time, but it was sort of, it was like the teacher's dream that you had a topic, and then all of a sudden one student has a very strong opinion on it, and then the other like kind of not stands up, but like wants to speak up and starts arguing against the other. That was me and Marcus. We were just having an argument with each other about a topic in political philosophy, going back and forth, and the teacher just let it happen. I think we must have been arguing for like a solid 10 minutes, having like a little bit of a debate, and eventually the school bell rings, everyone is like dismissed. Me and Marcus, we still keep arguing, and then by the end of that, we both felt like, okay, you're actually kind of cool, do you want to go get coffee? And then we started hanging out, and I think we became thick as thieves from that moment onwards, and we complemented each other really well with the kind of characteristics that we both had, and argued more about political philosophy for many years to come.
Okay, very, very cool. How do you complement each other?
Marcus has always been the driving force around vision and crazy ideas.
Okay,
And I've been, I guess, more of a counterbalance and more execution oriented.
got it.
So to really simplify it, we used to run a couple of companies before we founded Montorio. It was usually Marcus comes up with something and I try to make it work. And
Yeah.
then we go back and forth on it and see what happens. So that was a really good balance for many years.
Excellent, very cool. So normally I ask as the last question, what's your vision? But in this case, maybe we should ask, if Marcus were here, what would be his crazy vision for Montonio, let's say 10 years down the road? How big could this become, Corel?
So that's always a really difficult question. Like, what's your company going to look like in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, I didn't know that we would get to where we are right now. So you always have a vision. You always have an idea of this is where we're going. Okay, we're gonna go and get 10,000 merchants. All right, great.
Yeah.
Approaching that, doing great. The way we've always operated, like I told you in the beginning, you look at what sort of issues merchants have, and you try to improve on that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe something that we didn't really talk about is that yes, we launched payments, and then we launched shipping, and then we launched another thing. What we eventually realized is that we're not just releasing specific products. We're not just releasing another thing that you can sell by itself. We are building value that's like stacking up on top of each other.
Yeah.
So we don't sell just a payment acceptance service or solution to merchants. We're actually offering something that's completely end to end nowadays. We have products and services that help them with accepting payments, making sure that more of their customers convert. Then we have solutions around how they handle the operations of actually shipping the product, how they handle the operations of all their carrier relations and actually shipping, putting the label on the parcel, sending it on its way. How do they handle the post-purchase care? How do they get signals about packages that go missing or get lost, packages that get lost or that break in transit or whatever? How do they manage customer expectations? And how do they keep customers coming back? So we're really looking at this as an end-to-end thing, not just here's product one, product two. And so the vision is for us to keep expanding on this for as much as possible, while trying to make sure that merchants are converting more, that their business is better off because of what we are doing. because any kind of value that we're extracting or any kind of revenue that we're earning from our customers is a byproduct of us actually giving value to them.
Yeah.
So the more value we can build up, the more value we can earn. So
And I love that vision of basically handling more and more of all the problems that the customer is facing with their business, right? That end-to-end vision is very compelling. I love that open philosophy. And indeed, like if people have so many different needs, then often openness is the solution, right? That's a great philosophy. So Karel, if any merchant wants to hear more about Montonio, whether they be based in the Baltics or in Poland or in any of the other markets where I'm sure you'll be growing soon, then where do they go? What do they download? How do they get in touch?
Yeah, they can just go to montonio.com and just sign up or get in touch with sales.
Okay, that's excellent. Okay, and anyone who wants to talk to Karel directly and who knows me already, of course, I'm always happy to provide an introduction as well. But so far, this has been an amazing interview, Karel. I'm glad we finally got it canned. So thank you so much for joining the Scaling Without Breaking podcast. And for the audience, we will have a new episode next week. Talk to you then.
The Scaling Without Breaking podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.